Greetings, friends. It's me, Wayman29, and I thought I'd come on and talk about something interesting that I figured out, possibly. And some might not like this video or agree with it, and others may. I ended up losing or misplacing my Penguin Classic translation of the Bhagavad Gita, so I was at Barnes & Noble's, and I bought a new one. And while my lovely wife was going through the thousands of cookbooks, I was able to read almost the whole thing. And there was one part in here that really stood out and maybe an issue with the whole idea about freeloaders in religion. Meaning, you're not doing nothing. You're not doing nothing for your deities. And here I'm just going to read a part of this out of the Gita, and then I'm going to grab a part of Matthew, and we're going to think about this, especially Christians who think salvation's free, and once they have it, they don't have to do anything. So we're going to read this. Thus spoke the Lord of creation when he made both man and sacrifice. By sacrifice thou shalt multiply and obtain all thy desires. By sacrifice shalt thou honor the gods, and the gods will love thee. And thus in harmony with them shalt thou attain the supreme good. For pleased with thy sacrifice, the gods will grant thee the joy of all thy desires. Only a thief would enjoy their gifts and not offer them in sacrifice. And that's a lot to think about. I mean, here we go. If I was Yahweh and I had a bunch of people sitting around my house telling me, "Oh, Yahweh, we love you," but they aren't doing nothing, I'd kick them out. They're a bunch of freeloaders. So, hey, we're going to see where that happens. Christ had very stark words for freeloaders. Freeloaders. Matthew 25, where the talents, they hand over the talents. Everybody makes money except for the guy who had the one. He says, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you did not scatter the seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent on the ground. Here, have what's yours." But his master replied, "You wicked and lazy slave, you knew, did you, that I reap where I did not sow and gather where I did not scatter? Then you ought to have invested my money with bankers. On my return I would have received what is my own interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one with 10. For to all those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even that which they have shall be taken away. And for this worthless slave, throw him into outer darkness, and there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." And then he goes on to talk about the I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me. Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we seen you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you drink? And when was it that we saw you stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly, I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me." So, that right there are the sacrifices that people should be making. And if you ever think that it's a free ride, you're wrong. And once you do everything for the gods and for the deities, you become like the deities, and life becomes much easier. And heaven ends up not being just a selfish desire. We shouldn't even be thinking about heaven. That's not an entitlement that we deserve. It's given. And the thing is that more people need to see it that way. And if the Hindus can work it out, I believe that the Christians can work it out, and people of all religions, and maybe make the world a much better place rather than having endless selfish desires for the end of their own determination. So take care, YouTubers. Take care of yourself and each other. And remember, if everybody's thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking.